crime in the country has taken center stage recently as efforts to curb the crisis escalates. Just this week, members of the Eldorado community took to the streets to march demanding intervention for the crime there after 2 teenagers were shot and killed. With the police minister, Bheki Cele, saying of the 243 prisons in South Africa, there are over 500,000 prisoners in the system, a 33% capacity. Cele says these somewhat indicate an insurmountable social issue. So we speak now more about this with the University of Limpopo Criminology and Criminal Justice HOD, Professor Jaco Barkhuizen. Prof, thank you very much for availing yourself this morning. That we have more than 500,000 people occupying South African prisons. It would appear that it's more than what our prisons can actually take, or we're getting to that point. What should this tell us?
Okay, there's a couple of things that we can take away from this. 33% overcapacity with the high crime rates. The criminal justice system in South Africa is completely broken and needs an overhaul. You know, with 33% overcrowding in prisons, where is our restorative justice programs, our diversion programs? Prisons are supposed to be there for the violent or those that commit big economic crimes or violent crimes. Small petty crime should actually be diverted to restitution programs, restorative justice programs. But we have this mentality of lock them away. And correctional services are supposed to rehabilitate these offenders. But with such a high overcrowding and with the recidivism rates among the highest in the world, this trend will just continue. And you know, the sad thing is, the Stats report that Stats South Africa report that came out recently about people's perception of the criminal justice system and the feeling of being safe shows that people don't trust the CJS anymore. They don't trust the prosecutors. They don't trust the police, and South Africans feel unsafe. And with stats like this, it's no surprise that they're feeling unsafe.
If some of the solutions are as simple as you say, Prof, especially with restorative justice, then why are we not doing it?
This is the $10 million question, right? Why aren't we doing it? Because we capacitate and budget for wrong things. Look, the police visible policing budget was cut, but the VIP protection budget was increased. We look at things in an illogical and unscientific manner, and then we sit with one of the highest GBV crime rates in the world, a criminal justice system that does not do justice for victims of crime. We have something called the South African Victim Rights Charter that talks about restitution and compensation, that talks about compensating victims monetarily if they are victims of crime. That doesn't happen because we focus on things that will not contribute to South Africa. And this trend is just going to keep on going. Crimes are going to go up. People are going to trust government less and less, and eventually a breaking point will be reached.
According to a News 24 report, the police minister has said the figures indicate that only 18,000 of the 544,000 inmates in South African prisons were immigrants, meaning that it's the other way around. It's actually South Africans that are giving him sleepless nights.
Whether it's immigrants or South Africans is immaterial. We have an overcrowded prison population. We have an incarceration rate that's through the roof. Whether it's immigrants or South Africans is immaterial. It just shows you, again, the criminal justice system does not function. We warehousing people and expect that they go out, that there will be some sort of miracle happening without proper rehabilitation or correctional programs. Doesn't matter if it's an immigrant or a South African. They don't have the opportunities. They're warehoused. And yes, it is South Africans because the major population in South Africa is South Africans. So that makes sense. But still, whether it's a foreigner or a South African, doesn't matter because the crime rate's still high, one of the highest in the world, and incarceration rates is not helping.
Prof, you speak of rehabilitation and you speak of the responsibility of the criminal justice system. What of the responsibility of the person incarcerated, right? So we've seen reports of some people who are in prison who then would get in to join gangs, be it for protection or whatever other reasons, and people who still violate the rules within the system. But you also got people who get in there, they get their degrees, they do what is right, they find it to be a time to actually fix themselves. So what about the individual?
That's true. But you also have to, if you want to look at the individual, then you have to have proper programs in place. Why do people join gangs in prison? Like you said, to protect themselves. It's 33% overcrowded. You need protection. There's an old saying that says prisons are universities for criminals. So with a 33% overcrowding, what do you think is going to happen? It's up to the individual, yes, to rehabilitate. But there should be programs, proper programs in place that will address each and every individual on their needs. And we do blanket programs and hope, let's say if the recidivism rate is 70, that at least 30% do not reoffend. It's illogical and it's a waste of money. We need to have proper programs catered for each individual. But with the overcrowding as it is, I don't see that happening soon.
Prof, what about catching people before they actually enter into the system, right? So with our communities in Eldorado Park this week, the protest that we saw where a number of people were killed in just 1 week. You take a look at the situation in the Cape Flats, in the country in general. So how do we catch people before they get into the system? What is broken in our societies that we need to maybe focus on a bit more?
Okay, first of all, we need better visible policing. We need the police to be proactive. We need a functioning crime intelligence unit, which unfortunately we know that does not exist in the way it should. We need to have programs in communities where communities can feel free to speak about what's going on in communities to the police, knowing that the police will do something proactively. The whole excuse of no crime happens because South Africa is poor. That is actually so false. There's countries out there that's way poorer than South Africa that have less crimes. It's basically communities see what's going on and that criminals are getting away with it. They lose trust and faith, and those that are criminally minded see also other criminals get away with it, and then why not me? Why shouldn't I do it? Because everyone's getting away with it. There's no consequences for it. Proactive policing, proactive social programs, the need to address victims' issues, the need to enforce the South African Victims' Rights Charter on all levels, that will make a dent. The current hodgepodge approach will not work. We need to relook at our crime prevention initiatives. We need to have a whole new policing plan. There are so many things that can improve South Africa, but we're stuck in this 80s, 1990s, early 2000 mentality where the rest of the world has gone into a different direction on how to deal with crime and victims. and incarcerated offenders, we're still stuck in an old way of thinking and an old way of doing.
Prof, thank you very much for availing yourself this morning. Professor Jaco Barkhuizen is with the University of Limpopo Criminology and Criminal Justice Department. He's the head of department there.